not supposed to have what I want? What I need? What am I supposed to do?
Woohoo! He's back! He's back! Oh, my back! My back!
Hey yo, Peter!
Yeah?
We need the rest of the Guardians and the Avengers to take over Galactus before he dominates your home planet.
Hey, which Peter who you're talking to?
I'm talking to you. Wait, who, me? Not you, Peter, the other Peter.
Which Peter are you talking to?
Groot, help me up here.
I am Groot.
Oh, right, call the last name. Thanks, buddy. I meant to say, Quill, we need you.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
Wait, what about me? Sorry, kid, you can't help us anymore.
He's right, Parker. You belong to us. Back to Sony.
Sucks to be you, kid. Come on, Guardians, let's roll!
If you try to run away from us, Parker, we will eat both of your arms and both of your legs, and then we're gonna eat your face right off your head. Don't worry, Bugman. Hulk can't get any more movies anymore.
But it's more easier for you, big guy. So, in the meantime, if you're not working for Marvel, mind you help me work out for the next Pixar film, partner?
D23 Expo is finally here and back with new projects to announce. For those of you who don't like Netflix for limiting your favorite movies, on November 12th we're introducing Disney Plus, where you can watch your favorite Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilms, and favorite National Geography documentaries all in this all-streaming service for only $3.99. Every Disney movie you love will all be included in the service, but also releasing its new original stuff, like remaking a beloved classic into live action. Wait, it's not original? Oh. Then how about we make a TV series that's basically based on one of Disney Channel's biggest hits since... Wait, it's not original enough? You know what, screw it, we're just doing this for the money anyway. Let's just move on for the Disney stuff and just move on to the other properties. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, coming to a streaming service near you, from the director of Iron Man, Elf, and the Lion King remake, Disney Plus and Lucasfilms presents you Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Afterward, fans have their hatred backlash for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. J.J. Abrams returns to the franchise with the conclusion to the Skywalker saga, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And also, this fan-favorite character from the Star Wars prequels have been requesting to come back to the franchise, none other than Ian McGregor reprised his iconic role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, coming to his own Disney Plus service near you. Now, does anyone have any questions? Give us the Marvel stuff already! Alright, we'll get to it. From Marvel Studios, 3 new heroes will be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Phase 4, starring Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight. And last and not least, the King of Wakanda will mark his return in Black Panther 2, coming May 6, 2022. But what about all the Spider-Man news? Oh, we are not allowed to talk about that. Then why was Tom Holland at D23 Expo? Oh, it was usually to promote his new upcoming film, Onward by Pixar with Chris Pratt. Does that mean that Spider-Man's coming back? No.
Hello there, fellow geeks and nerds. It is I, Daniel, but you may call me the Pop Culture Dude. And today we have a lot of news to cover up that's related to Spider-Man and all the D23 Expo that recently just came out this weekend, and very recently for where are all the rumors and the official statements from both Tom Holland and Kevin Feige. So, all of this all started in a post that Tom Holland has posted in social media with Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr. They recently just went on a hike together, and literally when they're both holding Spider-Man and Iron Man figures, each for one another, and the quote that Tom Holland says, "We've did it, Mr. Stark," and basically it's the phrase that is technically from a line from Avengers Endgame, and now most people are speculating, what could this mean? Is this like a deal response from what Tom has to say about the MCU and Sony deal, or being, of course, disqualified as Spider-Man or in some other way? Or is it just the way it is? They just want to rephrase like, hey, this is all of the journey that we can do in the MCU, and I'm just having my time with my good old buddy RDJ on a physical hike after we were just taking a break from the 2 biggest movies that came out in 2019. But in some of the cases, it could mean all of that as well. But that's somehow speculation. That's most people assume like, oh my gosh, is Spider-Man being back to the MCU? We're going to get to that. And now we're going to get to why do most people assume that Spider-Man will come back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because there has been rumors, like way before they announced the D23 panels at Marvel Studios, where they announced mostly their upcoming projects for Disney Plus, but also for the few upcoming Marvel stuff. They all assume that they're going to make something for at least Disney and Sony as well. And from this article, it says here, and it's only just rumors, because like I said, if it's just a rumor, you never know if it's real or fake or not. So as I'm reading from this headline, it says Disney is rumored to make new 7 Spider-Man movies for like 7 films. And if you're wondering what could that deal could mean, it comes out from this guy named TVO of the Lords of the Long Box, who says Marvel sources have given him the scoop of where Disney and Sony are at, according to him, with this new deal that won't resonate Spidey to the MCU, but will allow for Tom Holland to return at least 6 films with an option for a 7th. These will make up a second trilogy for Holland's Peter Parker, which would follow his college life after his high school graduation. Peter Parker going to his adult life here reminds me of the PS4 video game. But anyway, as I continue by reading the article, these are even plans for Peter to team up with the Human Torch and Firestar in these films to be like the classic animated Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I remember that 70s cartoon where he teams up with Iceman and Firestar, who are basically just mutants from the X-Men. And the fact that this person also mentions like Human Torch, just like in the Ultimate Comics where Peter Parker and Johnny Storm are really good buddies and they literally go to the same high school, which is Midtown in the Ultimate Comics. But anyway, nice connection there. And meanwhile, there's going to be 2 more movies, will be Avengers 5 and 6, and will allegedly come before the second trilogy, and Peter meeting Johnny Storm for the first time. I mean, that's one of the reasons why that most people could predict for like Spider-Man's interaction with Fantastic Four characters, but also the X-Men mutants. But all this has been rumors, but now we're already here right now after when Disney just dropped down these official announcements instead of just these rumor announcements by this one source. Like I said, it's not real unless if it's considered by either Disney or Sony themselves. So very recently, and like I said, it happened very recently at a time like this when D23, like, it literally just happened. Like, when they were announcing during the panel, after when the Marvel stuff is gone, when Tom Holland has an upcoming movie, which is Onward, which is literally the next Pixar film that he's going to work with Chris Pratt, and obviously it's based on a suburban fantasy world with only 2 elf brothers, so that's like this brief synopsis of their upcoming film together, and most of the fans really just please a child like, Spider-Man, oh yeah! But the thing is, it kind of just makes Tom feel nervous, especially the fact that he cannot mention about it, or else he can just cause some like controversy or trouble. But after when all of the Onward stuff and the Pixar-related stuff was already over, Tom Holland was like all alone on the stage, and he literally just said in front of the fans that when he made an appearance today, during on stage, he said, "It's been a crazy week," Holland said from stage, "but I want you to know that I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart, and I love you 3000. Oh man, that's pretty deep once again. It reminds me of Tony Stark's final message, "I love you 3000, before they set up the funeral. But it's another way by saying is, my journey of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is done, and I love all you guys 3000. That's the #1 code that we're going to say for now on for Avengers Endgame. But yeah, that's like the saddest thing is like there's no Spider-Man involvement, but there's a lot more reasons to it. But guess what? After that, before we get into most detail about it, there are other Marvel stars that has a response of Spider-Man leaving the MCU. Elizabeth Olsen, aka Scarlet Witch, Paul Bettany, Vision, Anthony Mackie, Falcon, Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, Jeff Goldblum, who's going to be the Grandmaster. I was so unlucky that I did not get to be at MegaCon 2018. Such a missed opportunity. And also Jon Favreau, who plays Happy Oaken and aka director of Iron Man Lion King remake. You know this guy, but here this video source takes all about their own personal opinions about Spider-Man leaving to the MCU. Here's what every Marvel co-star has to say about it.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
It really is sad. I mean, Tom was such a special. First off, he's like he is the greatest Spider-Man to me. He's like actually has that youthful energy and the ability physically and emotionally, and he's just been incredible, and it's been really lucky that we've been able to work with him, and I think it's a big loss, and it's really too bad.
Listen, it could still work out, could still come back to the table, who knows? Yeah.
Petition online.
Petition, maybe. I'm like, okay.
Let's do it.
We will always have little Tom right here.
Tom,
Right
you
here.
are always on my
Right here,
mind.
little Tom.
You are always on my mind.
Love you, little Tom.
No, this is the first I've heard of it.
Save Spider-Man?
I'm crestfallen. Save.
Are Aunt May and Happy gonna have to break up if this Sony Disney thing doesn't work out?
I don't know. Aunt May and Happy were quite a couple there. I was look, and as an actor, I had so much fun working with Marissa and Tom Holland, and as a fan and as an actor and as somebody who's been part of the Marvel story for so long, we've all read rumors, we've all heard, we've all read press releases, but you never know what's going to happen, and I'm holding out hope and being optimistic that there's this isn't the final chapter of that story between those characters, because I would love to see them continue to share the screen together. And I don't just mean Happy and Aunt May. I mean Tom Holland and the characters and Spidey and the other heroes from the MCU.
So yeah, after hearing their responses from those interviews that they've been talked about, it's pretty accurate from what we thought about it. But I gotta give respect for Elizabeth Olsen just to say, like, she's making fun of one way to bring Spider-Man back is online petitions, which what every Spider-Man fan is gonna do. And as a matter of fact, I really have huge respect for Elizabeth Olsen, especially that Tom Holland. There's like this one interview that he did say like which MCU character he would date in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he said Scarlet Witch, and somehow I'm like, well, it gives the idea of some fans like, oh, the chip like Peter and Wanda fan fictions. I mean, not gonna lie, Tom, Lizzie Olsen is a pretty hot babe. Anyway, let's just move on to topic. Okay, now the one thing that I'm actually surprised by is by Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, obviously, who plays Bucky and Falcon. The thing is, if you haven't watched previous interviews, like way before then when Spider-Man was part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and yes, those are literally the two first Marvel characters that Spidey fight in Captain America Civil War, and Falcon and Bucky were very irritated by him, like he keeps on talking every time that they're doing a action sequence, and they always tease Tom Holland, especially during like the cons and the conventions that happen, especially in promoting Far From Home, where they usually just tease him just because he's the young one, he's a crybaby, he's the a-hole. But in some cases, I'm actually surprised they actually support him, and I'll be like, okay, now just because he's no longer part of the MCU, you guys are just trying to play safe, even though he literally kicked both of your butts in the Germany airport in Civil War. But in another way, I'm just like, until now they're giving respect to him after the whole deal was closed. And the one thing that was actually surprising was Jeff Gold's reaction. He did not notice about this until now. That's why he just feels shocked and puzzled by it. And now we go to Jon Favreau, who obviously is Happy Hogan. And now when the interviewer asked about Aunt May and Happy Hogan's relationship in Far From Home, that would, of course, affect somehow in the third movie. And sorry to play my constructive criticism over that, but I was not a huge fan of the Aunt May Happy Hogan relationship in Far From Home. It felt forced. To me, it was disrespectful to Uncle Ben. And second, for another reason, it wasn't like really needed to be shoved. It was meant more for comedic purposes, just to make, of course, a rom-com type of style. So I wasn't really a huge fan for that. But the one thing is, I will miss Happy for like helping Peter Parker out, especially during Far From Home, after when he's been completely beaten. And of course, he set his friends a trap by Mysterio by telling every single secret about Peter and his own personal life as well. But in this case alone, where Jon Favreau says that there is a possibility that Spider-Man could come back home, and he is always welcome home back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I'm in the same page with you, John, buddy, but hate to burst your bubble. From what Tom Holland says and Kevin Feige says, like, immediately right now, I don't think he's never coming back, like, at all. To me, it's all we could do from the past, like, 5 films that he's been since 2016 till now. It already has reached to its end and to its climax. And how do I know? It's reading in this article just right here. It was both responded by Tom Holland and Kevin Feige what's going to be the future for the Spider-Man characters as well. Like, very recently, Holland spoke with Entertainment Weekly about his future of the franchise first billion-dollar film with Spider-Man Far From Home. And here's going to be the good news and the bad news. This is what Tom Holland said. Basically, we have 5 great movies, Holland explained. It's been 5 amazing years. I have the time of my life. Who knows what the future holds? But all I know is that I'm going to continue playing Spider-Man and have the time of my life. And it's going to be so fun however we choose to do it. For the future, Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing. We'll find new ways to make it even cooler. So, here's the good news. I mentioned this in the last video. they're not recasting Spider-Man. Thank goodness. You know, what would they do if they had to recast Spider-Man? But in this case, he's still going to play the character no matter what. But he's not going to continue to be part of the MCU. Like, the 5 conclusion arcs from Civil War to Fireman. What did I say Fireman? I meant Far From Home. It's all done. And now he says the direction of Spider-Man movies will become different just because it's going to be produced by Sony and without the Marvel Cinematic Universe acknowledgement, like I mentioned in the last video. And he believes that there's going to be a brighter future for Spider-Man as well. Now, as for Tom Holland, that's what he officially says. Like, confirm, still playing Spider-Man, yes, but no longer for, like, the Marvel Studios, no more MCU connections. And now we move on to, like, Kevin Feige's response about all of this. This is what he has responded to one of the interviewers immediately right after when Tom Holland talks about his thoughts about what direction of the future of Spider-Man is going to head on, especially without Kevin Feige being the producer of these films. So Kevin Feige himself, the Marvel boss, he's always been grateful for the opportunity to have a co-produce from Homecoming and Far From Home with Sony, and here's what Kevin said. He said, "I'm feeling about Spider-Man gratitude and joy we have to make 5 films within the MCU with Spider-Man. 2 standalone films and 3 with the Avengers. It was a dream I never thought would happen. It was never meant to last forever." Ooh, we saw this coming. We know there was an infinite amount of time that we are able to do this, and we told the story what we wanted to tell. I'm always thankful for that. So basically, Kevin's saying he is grateful that he has the opportunity to produce at least 2 Spider-Man movies and at least appear in like 3 of the biggest Marvel movies that's been out that already make $1 billion and made by the Russo brothers and feature Avengers characters. You know the 3 films: Captain America: Civil War, Avengers: Infinity War, and Avengers: Endgame. And Kevin Feige was grateful for the opportunity, but he kind of expected like this isn't going to be forever. It's going to be like pretty limited as well. So all of you are pretty much emotional tears that it's so sad that we had to see Spider-Man go away from these guys. But in this case alone, I'm pretty sad too. But in the meantime, so far from what I've heard about what is Sony's plans with this new Spider-Man, I don't think I'm not going to be as scared as I originally was. And I'm going to tell you why. But first off, I want to share my moments of my favorite emotional moments that really hit me in the MCU. Like, I was so in the edge of my seat when I saw Captain America: Civil War, when Peter Parker first arrived, when it shows the word Queens, and when they're playing "When my left hand's free and my right hand's out," and when they were playing that song when Peter was arriving in with Tony Stark. But literally one of the most scenes that really appreciates, I'm like, okay, I think Tom Holland's a really good Peter Parker. But when we get to the airport scene, that's where I'm like, he's an amazing Spider-Man. But it's the scene with Tony Stark in the bedroom where Tony asks, like, "Why are you doing this? What makes you get out of the twin bed morning?" And that's where we get to know Peter Parker's character less than 5 minutes already, and why is his purpose of being a hero in the first place. He says, "Because I've been me my whole life, and I have these powers for 6 months. I read books, I build computers, I love to play football, but I can't just because you're different." Exactly. And then one of the most important quotes that he said is a similar way of saying, with great power comes great responsibility, but this is what he says: "When you can do the things that I can, but you don't. And then the bad things happen. They happen because of you." And in the theater, I literally just shed a tear and of course just smile like all the way in the theater, because it really reflects on Tony just because he feels guilty of not saving other people's lives, especially during Sokovia and Avengers: Age of Ultron. He feels like every single work that he's made is going against him and the public is going against him, and that's why Tony Stark is the one that signed the Sokovia Accords and be under the government's registration, and Captain America: Civil War, while Captain America doesn't. And he understands that from Peter Parker's perspective, because we all know, even though they did not mention Uncle Ben, but it's more like a hint, wink, wink, nod, like, I've lost someone on my own, and of course I feel so responsible about it, and that's why I have to use my great power comes great responsibility. And that's one of the things that really, I felt so emotionally invested of the character, until then we get to the Amazing Spider-Man quips, and of course, the action sequences and his interaction with other Marvel characters. The other emotional moment that really hit me in the feels like, wow, childhood has been officially become full set and completed. It's that Infinity War moment where he decided to do that old movie trick after Empire Strikes Back, and now with Infinity War, have you seen the old movie Aliens? And after when he saved Doctor Strange's life after when Squidward died in space, of one of the most emotional moments where they literally played the Avengers theme song where Tony just knights him like, "Alright kid, you're an Avenger." I was like the only one clapping, like, he did it. He finally did it. And that was like the best MCU moments that I could share, like from both Civil War and Infinity War, that really like hits me. I'm like, this is like great fan service to me. But now, sadly, guys, that's only just coming to an end for a small time. But take it from what Dr. Seuss says. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Like, obviously, it's sad to have to go, but just at least reflect and look back. At least the Spider-Man deal happened, and at least he gets to crossover with the Avengers, even though it was for a short time. But for right now, we gotta learn how to move on, guys. And Tom Holland's gonna learn how to move on, especially for the rest of the crew of Spider-Man. And speaking of Spider-Man, now we get to know the details of the third Spider-Man movie. And surprisingly, this is from Kevin Feige himself, but now that I think about it from Kevin Feige's thoughts, I believe Sony can pull off the next third movie. Like, as long the studio, Sony themselves, let the filmmakers do their creative control and make a good movie, like what they did with Spider-Verse, instead of just doing the same mistake they did with Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is what Kevin Feige's plans for the third Spider-Man movie, and to me, it sounds interesting as I thought. His plans was, it'll be fun if Spider-Man gets back to his element out of the shadow of Tony, outside the shadow of the other Avengers, as his own man now, as his own hero. Feige said in the July interview when asked how the franchises will go moving forward from Far From Home's mid-credit shocker, yet facing his own challenges that aren't coming from Avengers fighting like Captain America Civil War, or aliens coming like Avengers Infinity War, or Avengers Endgame where it's all Peter focused and Parker based. And I'm like, so they basically want to make a really ground-focused Peter Parker story, but without any Avengers, and now they want to make more a super independent Spider-Man, instead of just being a Spider-Boy anymore. Now, in the next film, they wanted to make him a full Spider-Man, especially the fact that his identity's been revealed to the public. It's going to be even more struggle since he's going to have, like, no other hero to help. And to me, that's an interesting concept, and since he mentions, like, not that much Avengers or Tony Stark involvement in Peter Parker's shadows, they're going to be out of them. That's why when I'm seeing, like, if Sony's going to produce them, I think they can pull it off well without Marvel's help if they know the creative direction of it. And how do I know? Tom Holland confirms that he's going to come back, but you know who else is coming back to make the next film? The writers of Homecoming and Far From Home, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. Like, in this article it says, according to Deadline, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers are currently writing Spider-Man 3 for Sony. These pair of writers worked on Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, as well as last year's Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's a good thing that they still keep the exact same writers from what makes the tone of the last two movies at least good and entertaining to watch, but also trying to make a decent story of Spider-Man being created, and that's why Homecoming and Far From Home were considered good Spider-Man movies that we have in this decade right now. But in this case, it's a good thing they did not, like, switch out the writers. All they need to do, if John Watts needs to write and negotiates, even though Sony considered him, but he's not confirmed to come back, but he is interested to come back because he's already processing ideas in his head. And for some of the reasons, too, one of my biggest concern is who are going to be the producers. I know Amy Pascal would be because she's been the producers of all Spider-Man movies since day one. But now I'm just saying, who are going to be the other producers? Please do not bring Matt Tomac and Avi Arad. Those are greedy, dirtbag cash grabs that usually just wants to shoehorn Venom in Spider-Man 3 and put the Sinister Six in the Spider-Man 2, and they try to do the same thing with Venom. Just don't hire them as leading producers. Keep them on the space as executive producers. For my advice, if you want to choose leading producers for the next film, bring back Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They were the writers of Spider-Verse, and of course, the producers as well. They made the Lego movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And like I said, I like Phil Lord and Chris Miller for their writing direction, their storytelling, and I love their sense of humor. Like, it's really hilarious. And as long as they do that, and as long as they're taking that direction of making a Peter Parker story focus and only focus on Peter only and fighting from his own personal struggles, reminds me of the Raimi films once again and the PlayStation 4 video game, then the third movie could possibly be good without the MCU's help. Who knows, but this is like the only way that we can think about it. So far, like we said, it's so sad that we had to let go of the Marvel Studios, but as long as Sony knows what they're doing, I'm still going to be remaining optimistic. Tom Holland is looking forward to play Spider-Man once again. Kevin Feige says he's grateful for what he has done, and same for the writers of Homecoming, Far From Home's coming back. So I'm just still going to stay calm for now, and let's just say there's going to be some high hopes for Spider-Man future, and I have to say, just be great about it. But anyway, that's all next for this video, and you guys will see me in the next video whenever the next news highlights. So thank you all. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified for more future content. And thanks, and I'll see you guys next time. And that mosquito! I don't want to get bit by a radioactive mosquito!